2.5 years later, the plot of the Tower of Fantasy has finally left the novice village. This surveillance video will overturn all your understanding of the Tower of Fantasy. The truth behind the cataclysm also began to emerge. Report. Special unit detected. Request to report to Antoria Commander-in-Chief. Understand. We can obtain the following information from this surveillance footage. Firstly, this surveillance footage was captured in real time. That means there are people in the grid who can monitor the underlying world. Second, the monitor knows the existence of alteration virus. But it is still unknown whether there are any countermeasures. Third, Void Piercer is considered as a special unit, rather than humans in the Jest Host sector. Fourthly, the monitors are organized. According to the report, their chief is called Antoria. Fifth, the action of the protagonist on the Jest Host sector may have been exposed. Grid people are aware of the existence of the lower world. Now, Xiaofeng will take everyone to thoroughly analyze the plot of version 4.2. For those who haven't watched the plot, you can go to watch the full plot clip of the previous episode to unravel the mystery of this surveillance footage. Firstly, we need to know who Antonia is. Coincidentally, I really know who she is. In the analysis of version 4.0, Xiaofeng once found a dark web document. Antoria is mentioned in it. She is a counter-terrorism elite of the United Army. With her around, terrorist organizations dare not make mistakes. But now she has disappeared. At first, I thought Antoria was Nora who lost her memory. However, in the new version of the file, we can see the origin of Nola. She didn't know why she appeared on the site of the underground gang. She remembered her name during a boxing match. Nola. This is a real blow. Nola is not Antoria. Now the name of Antoria appears again. She is the overall commander of the surveillance organization. The Federation not only knows the existence of the lower world, also know the existence of alteration virus. But is it really possible? It's really possible. It all starts with the plague of omnium energy. When we first entered version 4.0, a setting has been quietly changed. In the dialogue between researchers of Algorithm Arc, we learned that the omnium energy plagues had a name before the cataclysm. It's called a spatiotemporal mutation disaster. In the loading diagram of Tower of Fantasy, we further understand that the meaning of this noun. In the process of using omnium energy to explore space and time, a discovered spatiotemporal disaster. So here's the question. When was this disaster discovered? The technology of exploring time and space with omnium energy. It was an unexpected discovery by the Hycros Evans team. Discovered that omnium energy can affect the stability of space-time. Afterwards, a series of experiments began. That is to say, retrospective experiments. There are currently 3 known large-scale backtracking experiments on the Tower of Fantasy. The first backtracking time is unknown. The second regression led to the cataclysm. The third backtracking was blocked by Zeke. So the answer is obvious. The time of discovering space-time disaster is the first time retracement. And this retrospective claims to have been successful. Next, let's take a look at the next sentence of the time-space disaster archive. Unable to isolate through physical means in reality. Subsequently, it spread globally. This indicates that dealing with temporal and spatial disasters, humans are powerless to stop it. Can only rely on the second regression to solve. Although unable to stop it. But humans will not sit idly by and wait for death. So what struggles have humans made? If we want to know about the struggle of humanity, we need to know when the first backtracking was. Coincidentally, we know such an insider. Wednesday's eldest sister, Nola. Regarding her background, everyone also fully utilized various creative ideas. Some people think that she experienced cataclysm in the outside world. Afterwards, consciousness lurked in the grid, causing amnesia. Some believe that she has experienced the cycles of the grid world, awakening memories of past lives in this cycle of reincarnation. And all these speculations stem from her character PV. The PV happened when Nola stopped the bullet for her little brother's gunpowder. This scene reminded her of the last time she blocked a bullet. With Nola's thoughts, what we first see is the core origin of Omnium Reactor. And it is running at high speed. Afterwards, we saw various combatants about to fall. They are Nola's former comrades in arms. As soon as the screen turned, the image of DNA appeared. This scene is not unfamiliar to everyone. When Sally was alienated, it has also appeared before. Subsequently, the fallen team member stood up twisted. Their bodies have started to change. The more the origin runs, the worse the condition of the team members. After that, it finally changed into aberrant. As Nola continues to remember, there have also been scenes of badges blocking bullets. There are 2 speculations about the shooter. One type is the mole, in order to disrupt the experiment. The second is that when facing teammates, they become aberrant. Mentally shattered, shooting indiscriminately accidentally injured Nola. But that's not why Nola lost her memory. A major explosion occurred afterwards. Only Nola survived. But she forgot this memory. It is precisely this segment that gave rise to everyone's above speculation. However, there is a lack of evidence to support it. Xiaofeng is more convinced that Nola has always been in the current timeline. Firstly, Nola's identity. What can prove her identity is the badge that never leaves her. The emblem of the badge and the emblem of the Federal Archives are the same. There are 2 bullet holes on it. The first bullet hole was in a scene of recollection. The second bullet hole was during the process of saving her little brother's gunpowder. By slowing down, we can clearly see the moment when the bullet hits the badge. This also indicates that the previous badge already had a bullet hole. Whether it's believing Nola's consciousness has infiltrated or awakening consciousness in reincarnation. It's hard to explain the origin of the first bullet hole, unless the badge also traveled through time with it. So Nola has always been on the current timeline, which is more qualified. She and her team came into contact with the Origin experiment during an operation. But in this experiment, Aberrate appeared. The team members have been turned into Aberrant. At the end of the action, the Origin explodes just like Aurora Industries. Then she came to Asperia with amnesia. Helped Fong Gang become the leader of Underground Gang by chance. She has also earned the title of Mercenary Fangs. Then she happened to meet the little girl Siggy, who was persecuted by Aurora Industries, and accept her as a disciple. Later, she joined Wednesday in search of her identity. These are the experiences of Nola. Take a clear inventory of her experiences. We can deduce the timeline before Nola's amnesia. Anka's parents were persecuted in 2661. Afterwards, she became an orphan and met Nola. So Nola's amnesia was also before 2661 AD. The Origin experiment should be done after the completion of the Tower of Fantasy. That is to say, in the year 2659 AD. So Nola was involved in the last operation. It's within this range. This time also revealed a shocking truth to us. Aberrant has appeared several years ago. But we have never heard of such news in the Gesto sector. This indicates that someone is deliberately deceiving the public. Combined with surveillance footage, the answer is about to come out. The Norn Federation government deceives everyone. They conceal the fact that Aberrant exists. This is not uncommon in film and television works. Taking the biochemical crisis as an example. Even if the entire city is flattened, externally, they only claim that an accident occurred. Not everyone is qualified to know the truth. Why am I so certain that the federal government knows the truth? Then it depends on the original Prohibition Bill. This is a complete scam. It not only deceives the traditional enterprises represented by Aurora Industries. Even the Hadal Electron, which supports Omnium Energy, cheated. In the exploration of the Hadal Ring, there is a password laboratory on the basement level. After entering 1206, you can find such a file. After the enactment of the Omnium Energy Prohibition Act, all Omnium reactor have been installed with monitoring programs. And the application for the experiment has never been approved. Previously, we thought that only Aurora Industries was not allowed to conduct new Omnium Energy experiments. Hadal electrons have been specially approved for experimentation. But the fact is not like that. Hadal Electronics is the shield that has been pushed out. Make everyone think that as long as they work hard, can apply for Omnium Energy experiment qualification. But the real situation is, Hadal Electronics application also failed. The federal government has refused all enterprises to conduct new Omnium Energy experiments. Only Hycros. Because it is already part of the federal government. From the Gesto sector world, we know that there are factions supporting Omnium Energy and anti-Omnium Energy factions. Now it turns out that the federal government is the most opposed to the Omnium Energy experiment. Isn't it very shocking? But if we consider Nola's last involvement in the operation, it's not surprising. Because several years ago, the Federation discovered the existence of Aberrant in the space-time experiment. This also made the federal government realize that primitive energy is dangerous. But advanced technology cannot be blocked. It is also impossible to disclose the truth of Aberrant and cause social panic. So the Omnium Energy Prohibition Act was issued to monitor all Omnium reactor and leave Hadal Electronics as a shield. Then Hycros began to investigate the truth of Aberrant. The federal government also conducts comprehensive surveillance on the lower world. Discovered the existence of a foreign virus. At the same time, a control tower was also discovered. At this point, do you feel like the plot has collapsed a bit? Gesto sector natives have discovered the world at the bottom. Is the current Gesto sector still Asperia in history? In the operation with Nola, we found that we eliminated the underlying alteration virus. Aberrant in the surface world will be restored to adults. This discovery led the protagonist to ask Plotty the same question, including the Aberrant phenomenon in the surface world. After removing the alteration virus, the disappearance of Aberrant is also a very important information. But in reality, Aberrant in real history. Plotty, Gesto sector world. It really recreates the Ida world in history, right? Is the grid really a replica of the past Asperia? If the bottom world of the Gesto sector affects the surface world, so does the lower world also exist in reality? To solve this puzzle, we need to know if the Federation in history also knows about the lower world. Fortunately, there are indeed clues. It's the 049 file. Although many words are missing. But we can still guess some things. The reality of global spread of disasters based on spatio-temporal variability. The world is about to reach the brink of collapse. This is the recognition of the federal government in the Gesto sector world. This is also a situation in history where the federal government holds control. Combined with temporal and spatial variability, disasters cannot be prevented by practical means. The federations in history are very likely to know the phenomenon of Aberrant. Afterwards, let's look at the three-step plan. Regulation, containment, restoration. Regulation refers to the enactment of original energy prohibition laws. Monitor all Omnium reactor. What is containment? How can we stop Aberrant? Reality cannot stop it. What about using unrealistic means? The Federation of the Gesto sector can monitor the underlying world. Discovery of alteration virus. The Federation in history must also be contained in order to prevent it. Go to eliminate the alteration virus. So the possibility that the federal government knows about the lower world is also very high. Here's a digression. Didn't the Tower of Fantasy say that aberrate is caused by omnium energy radiation? Why is it said now that it's because of alteration viruses in the lower world? Old fans familiar with Xiaofeng know. I have never supported the view of omnium energy radiation, because the vulnerability is too large. The current plot also denies the notion of radiation. But instead, they switch to a more logical setting, using the inner world to influence the surface world. Do you feel familiar with this setting? Isn't this the conversion in persona of the goddess? By stealing the secret treasure of the shadows in the inner world, so that the villains in the watch world can complete their transformation. Admitting guilt. No wonder version 4.0 was announced to be linked with persona from the beginning. Next is the final step of the 3-step process. Restore. This is also the last resort of the 049 plan. The second time retracement plan. If the previous supervision and suppression still cannot prevent aberrate, then we can only start the second time retracement. It is shocking that this plan has already been formulated. After the discovery of aberrate people in the first time retracement, the Federation has already begun to work on saving the world. And all this is going on without telling the whole planet Ida. It is Meryl's testimony that can really prove what Xiaofeng says. The plot specially sets the echo between Meryl of the grid and Meryl of the reality. Through Meryl's affirmation in reality, we also learned that this archive did exist in history. The same one was stolen. The difference is that historical archives have been retrieved. In Jethro's sector, the file is still in our hands. Although Meryl hasn't read this file. But it still suggests that Hykros may be conducting experiments. That's also why Xiaofeng thinks Nola's last action was the first time retracement. It is also the first appearance of Aberrant. However, this way, the existence of Jethro's sector is very strange. If the Federation had always been in control of the situation in the lower world, then the alteration virus is also simulated by Jethros. Why hasn't there been any downtime before this? If there are any variables present between them, that's Nemesis. The previous Jethros sector has been reincarnated countless times, all for the purpose of finding a way to break the deadlock. Until the appearance of Nemesis. She came from the outside world to the grid world, and helped the firewall to resist the invasion of alteration virus. So the first variable of the Jethros sector world is not the main character. It's Nemesis. From the current situation, it appears that, even with the participation of Nemesis, still unable to break the deadlock. So the protagonist of the second variable became the key. Shirley also entrusted us to help Voidpiercer. Afterwards, it is very likely that we will be on the same side as Voidpiercer. At the same time, the Federation that detects the existence of Voidpiercer will also take action. If Voidpiercer has already been discovered, then we have also been exposed. This may be the solution that the Jethros sector plan has been looking for. But these are all things that happen inside the grid. If it were to be put into reality, how did the Jethros sector plan start? Solve this puzzle. Start with Nemesis's life experience. She is homologous to the alteration virus. If the grid completely restores history, could she be the means left behind during the cataclysm? Through alteration virus transformation or other methods, made specifically to eliminate viruses. After wandering around for so many years, only now has it returned to the Jethros sector plan. All of this can only be anticipated in the future. By the way, for those who haven't read much about Xiaofeng's interpretation, explain the truth of Nemesis's invasion of Jethros. In the plot, it says, the outage was caused by Nemesis's invasion of Jethros. But the actual situation is, when Domain 9 launched the Celestial Cannon, Jethros had a problem first. Ah, what's going on? Something's wrong. What's going on? The power of the reactor is rapidly decreasing. If this continues, we are about to fail. Then Nemesis took over Jethros and helped complete the plan. That is to say, Nemesis actually came to help Jethros. Nemesis also confirmed the target before entering. It means that she knew Jethros before. Confirm object. The plot of the Tower of Fantasy focuses on one thing. Don't believe the plot. Alright, that's all for this issue. Why can't the protagonist escape from tracking? Did Meryl of Jethros sector believe the main character? What is the director planning again? See you next time.